Hey, what's going on guys? It's your boy, Nerd Mode On, and welcome to today's Battlefield 4 video where I'm going to be trying something a little new in Battlefield 4. So of course, over the last couple of months, some of you guys have been recommending challenges for me to do or try different setups and stuff along those associated lines, and I figured this would be a great opportunity to try some new things out, considering that I do have a good amount of time played in Battlefield 4, as well as it allows me to decide whether or not that I need to improve in certain areas or if I rely too heavily on the HUD or the UI in the game. So definitely I decided to pick up the no HUD challenge, which is definitely a very difficult one by itself. So of course, to kind of give you guys some general information about what this challenge is, it is actually as simplistic as it sounds. You actually have to turn off your HUD. Now of course, I believe this is only a feature permitted on the PC platform, but nonetheless that means that I don't have an ammo count, I have no crosshairs, and I really just don't have any general information that allows me to know when the enemy is nearby or to even read the minimap, considering that everything has been turned off. Now during this challenge, I actually found it to be very difficult. I did not realize how much I rely on the HUD or the UI in Battlefield, and it's crazy to think that this is actually a thing you can do on PC, along the fact that everybody else that's playing is probably not playing this way. Now as a result of me having my HUD turned off, I quickly found that the enemy was almost at an advantage in every single situation, and you guys will notice that during instances that I don't exactly know what's going on. Now the reason that I was having such difficulties deciphering whether or not that was a friendly I was looking at or an enemy is because a lot of the times from a distance players look adequately close together. Now of course Battlefield's always been really well about deciphering which class is which due to the physical characteristics as well as the weapon characteristics that the players uphold, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I can look at a player and decide whether he is the US team or RU or even Chinese. There's definitely some instances where I had to actually spend a little bit more time, taking a couple more milliseconds to decide whether that was a friendly or an enemy, and those few milliseconds actually made the difference between living or dying, and that was definitely something that I struggled with for the first hour or so. And then of course as time progressed, I kind of became a little bit more accustomed to what I was looking for and which features and characteristics to be paying attention for. So of course, alongside having to look at physical characteristics, weapon sounds, and stuff like that, of course, I quickly found that I had to rely a lot more on my headset and the sounds around me than I normally do when I play Battlefield 4. Now of course I am kind of privileged in this aspect, considering that I do have an Astro A40, which is actually a pretty good headset. It allows me to hear players around walls, and for the most part I can actually hear them clunking around above me or below me depending on which map I'm playing on. But I feel like if I didn't have this headset, or at least a headset that was adequate when it comes down to sound quality, I could definitely see how this would be very frustrating, and this challenge would have been a lot more difficult than it normally would have in these particular instances. Now alongside having to use sound quality and just the basic things that many of us take for granted when it comes down to the Battlefield franchise, considering that the engine is actually pretty impressive when it comes down to those features that they specialize in, I did however have a saving grace when it comes down to it, considering that Battlefield 4 has been out for over a year and a half by this point. Many of us are very accustomed to the map, we know where players like to sit and camp, and overall we kind of understand the routines and patterns that many players use when they play the overall franchise. Now this was no exception, considering that the game had already been out for quite some time, and I kind of knew where players were going to be, I understood the main gist of it, and there's a lot of great features and a lot of great hints that the game gives you without having to have the UI enabled. When it comes down to flags, you can understand which team has it just by simply looking at the flag, as well as the friendlies around the flag. That'll kind of give you a basic understanding of if you own the flag or if unfortunately you don't have control of it. It's also very easy to understand which vehicles are which team, considering that a lot of the times you won't be playing two teams that have the same vehicle. And now of course this is really only an issue with some of the scout choppers and some of the other vehicles, but for the most part you can kind of look at the vehicle and know if it's a friendly or if it's a part of the enemy team. And finally, Siege of Shanghai is one of those maps that many of us have a lot of time invested into, especially if you played the beta and participated in that. Even if you didn't do that, you've probably played Siege of Shanghai, especially when the vanilla version came out, for quite some time. When there was no DLC currently available in the beginning stages of Battlefield 4, this is one of the maps that a lot of pilots played, especially myself. This is kind of how I learned how to fly and become a little bit more evasive when it comes down to tactics and strategics for the game. By no means does that take away from the infantry combat and the vehicle combat, especially on the ground forces, which is also really great when it comes down to the premises of playing the game. But with all that information said, what I'm really trying to give you guys or convey to you is that this map has a great amount of flow to it, and as a due result, you can kind of understand where players are going to go. There's never a time where you're like, I don't know where combat's at, or never a time when you feel like you have to travel across the map to find it. But I guess when it really comes down to it, that's a great accomplishment, especially for the team that makes the maps by DICE, and I feel like that's just something that they need to do a little bit more of in the future, and I feel like that would allow players to really enjoy the maps as well as enjoy the overall game mode that they are playing. But anyway guys, I do really appreciate that you guys allowed me to try this challenge. It's something that I've been wanting to do over the last couple of months, and it definitely really tested me in the aspects of my overall skill level, and it really allowed me to become a better player and enlighten me on what I need to improve upon. Now of course, if you guys would like to try this challenge for yourself, I will of course leave the instructions and the command prompts in the description of the video, so of course if you guys would like to try it on the PC platform, feel free to give it a try, see how your luck compares to myself as well as many other players. But until the next episode guys, this has been NMO, and I'm going to be signing out guys. Peace.